Professor Alter, a pleasure and honor being with you in Crete, Greece, for Artists of Science series of TV programs. As you know, is Artists of Science. First, I wanted to ask, give us a brief overview of your profession and your achievements.
Well, my career has been very long, as you know. I came to the National Institutes of Health as a relatively young fellow. Didn't know what I was going to do.
How young you were?
I was, I guess, 29 or something like that at that point. I had to find, first of all, I was at NIH because that was a way not to get into the draft, not to be in the Army. I received a letter from the U.S. government saying you've been inducted into the Army. Report to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I would have been sent to Berlin. There was a Berlin crisis at the time. But I'd already applied to NIH because that was, if you had any inkling you might want to have an academic career, that was the best place to be. So I was able to get to NIH with a lot of help. And then I always wanted to be a doctor, a real doctor, in practice, not in research. But I had to come up with a project. It turns out the project I came up with looking at, did some people have proteins, antibodies to proteins different than their own that they might have been exposed to in a blood transfusion. To make a long story short, a guy named Brooke Blumberg, also at NIH at the time, was doing sort of the same thing, and somebody alerted me to go see him. We began a collaboration. We found this peculiar antigen in an agar plate that was called the Australia antigen because we found it in an Australian Aborigine. I studied that for a year, and Blumberg left NIH and he pursued that. It turned out to be part of the hepatitis B virus, the surface coating of the hepatitis B virus. So after I finished my clinical training, I got a call back to NIH saying, you know, that thing you found when you were with Blumberg has now become important. Do you want to come and study it further? And I did. I came back to NIH in 1970 and never left again, and kept pursuing post-transfusion hepatitis. Well, what caused it? How frequent was it? How bad was it? And that step by step led to different discoveries. I eventually recognized a new virus that wasn't the only other two known hepatitis viruses, A and B, and then we pursued that. Became hepatitis C. And
non-A, non-B, which
non-A,
became C.
non-B proved to be the same as the clone virus C. And then eventually the drug companies developed a cure for hepatitis C. And so in the end of my life, end of my career, we're trying to eradicate hepatitis C in the world because we have these wonderful curative treatments.
So hepatitis C is your biggest achievement?
Yeah.
That was you were awarded the Nobel Prize very recently, 2020.
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
So, having how your life changed with just short.
Well, Nobel Prize is a funny thing because you've done the work. You've done something that some scientists recognize as being good, but it's not generally recognized. And then you get the Nobel Prize for that work, and suddenly you're a genius. Suddenly everybody knows about it. The same work you did suddenly become more important because it's been recognized. The work was very collaborative, worked closely with other people at NIH, and then the award was shared by myself, Michael Houghton, who actually cloned the virus, Charlie Rice, who set up the possibility of doing treatments, and together the three parts made a nice story. I like to think that it hasn't changed me as a person.
Perfect.
But it's opened up more exposure, more invitations, more people want your autograph, and made your life busy at a time when your life was kind of quieting down. It suddenly became more busy again.
That's good.
And but it's been a wonderful thing.
And when you are not in academia, this is even specific, it's even different. You've been in academia, you have been in university, or you are only been in...
Only at NIH, pretty much.
So
I was in academia at Georgetown for a while.
Correct.
In my younger years, but...
So it's a big difference from a government employee and then in the light of Nobel Laureate, Nobel Laureate Prize.
Fortunately, during my career at NIH, I often got invited, so I went to many places in the world. That was a perk of being a scientist and giving lectures. But you're just a little different level of respect, I guess. So NIH made a nice dedication, and there's now a wall in NIH in my name. And
oh, really? There's a wall?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And my name is on a obelisk in Central Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's an obelisk in Central Park. I didn't know that.
And Theodore Roosevelt was the first award winner.
Okay.
This is only for American award winners.
Oh, okay, the American award.
And so
in Central Park.
1901, well, it's right behind Central Park, but behind the museum.
Should go and see that. I didn't know.
Yeah. So things like that, but you never expect to get in your life.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah. So, during all your life, for example, what has been the best decision you ever done?
Well, that's an interesting question. My life has been formed by serendipity. As I said, from age 10 on, I wanted to be a doctor. And that meant being a real doctor, having a stethoscope, being in an office. But because I got drafted, and had I gone to Berlin at that time, I would have definitely gone into practice, because that was the career I wanted. When I got to NIH, I still wanted that. Bloomberg wanted me to come with him to Philadelphia. And I said, no, I want to finish my clinical training and go into practice. So I didn't go with him, and then he won the Nobel Prize.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a good decision or a bad decision?
Well, it was a good decision in the long run, because I became my own person, not Bloomberg's assistant.
That's very important.
And
that's very important.
But then when I finished my clinical training, I was at Georgetown Hospital in D.C. on the faculty, not on the faculty, I was a fellow. And then I applied for a practice position in D.C. and I was rejected.
Oh.
So that rejection.
So you applied for?
To be a doctor in practice.
Correct.
And because I didn't get that position, my boss at Georgetown said, well, you can always go to practice. Stay here on the faculty. So I stayed on the faculty at Georgetown. And then I got into academia. That was what I sort of wanted. And gave up the idea of going to practice. And then I got the call back to NIH about the stuff I had done years before.
Yeah.
And once you're at NIH, I never wanted to leave. It was such a wonderful atmosphere where you could see patients long term and study them, and see them in a context of a study. So the funding was internal at NIH. I followed people for as much as 30 years and studied the progression of hepatitis. So it was just great, great collaborators.
So that was a good decision.
So serendipity, those kind of things where things I thought I wanted to do didn't work out, and what I got to do was much better.
Yeah, serendipity is actually even for this kind of discoveries in science, it works.
Yeah, yeah.
You start on something and you discover something else.
Yeah. So.
Correct. And the worst decision?
The worst decision in my life? I know. I don't know if I've made bad decisions, because I enjoyed college, I enjoyed medical school, I enjoyed training, I loved NIH. Socially, I might have done things differently. I spent too much time working and not enough time with family. Yeah, that was not the best.
That was our question, the next question, but you went there already.
Yeah.
So have you found the famous balance, work and life?
Well,
so to many, still it is a mystery.
I found a better balance. We have a complicated family. After 12 years of marriage, I got divorced. Not wanted to be divorced, but that after being very depressed about that, at the same time my career was beginning to move and I was beginning to travel, and I was taking my kids on travel with me, and we got closer. And then I met Diane, and we had a second marriage, and she had two children, two daughters that became part of my family. All my two children and her two children each had two children, and one had three children. So we now have 19 people altogether. And I learned how to be a better father, I think, from Diane, how to be a more family-oriented. So I think I've learned over the years, but early on you work, and
so you found the balance?
It's very hard. Maybe not a perfect balance, but a better balance.
That's a good thing. A better balance.
Better balance. But that, I tell young people, that is the hardest thing to do, is how to balance work with family. And your tendency is to neglect family, because your work becomes so important and so encompassing. But you have to make time for your children and for your wife.
And their children, they are in science, medicine?
My son is a psychiatrist, medicine, and he's the only one that went into medicine. None of my other children or stepchildren or grandchildren have gone into science, but I think they've learned something from me.
And your wife is a scientist,
She's a psychotherapist. And a psychoanalyst.
Yeah.
And she has retired now as well. I'm retired, but still going into work a little bit.
You should never retire.
And she's retired, but she's become an artist.
Okay.
So we have a very good life.
So it's better to be married with a professionist in your field or a different field?
It's good. I think it's probably easier if the other person understands your field.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky that Diane understands the different poles of medicine. She understands enough science. She enjoys going to lectures here. She's gone to some of the lectures here, has enjoyed them. I've learned psychiatry from her. I've been her best patient. So we've fed off each other. Been good.
Okay. How much free time you have?
How much what?
Free time.
Free time. I have a lot of free time now.
No.
Yeah, because I only go in one full day a week now.
Okay.
And other days as needed. I work a little bit at home. Diane says I work more than I do, but I pretty much have a 6-day weekend. Enjoy it. Enjoy reading more.
What about hobbies?
Hobbies? Well, I like photography, and my goal when I retired was to put all my pictures together, and I haven't done it yet, but
it takes time.
I still have that as a goal. Because of various injuries, I played some tennis, and now some pickleball's taken over tennis, but I got so many tenuous muscles and tendons that I have to be worried about injuries. But the days fly by. By the time you've read the paper and do some other reading and everything, you brush your teeth in the morning, and before you know it, you're brushing your teeth at night. You don't know what happened in between.
Well, it's dynamic. It's a dynamic life.
Yeah.
Correct. So, why you said that you wanted to be a doctor? Why a doctor? What was the original idea?
Well,
why not lawyer?
Yeah.
Why not a psychiatrist? Why not a sociologist?
Well, if you were a Jewish boy growing up in New York,
so
you were sort of predetermined to be a doctor.
Oh, why predetermined? There are lawyers. Actually, they're all professions. They're journalists.
There's something about being a doctor that was. But also, my father was not a doctor, but because he was one of 9 children, there wasn't money to go.
9 children.
Yeah, he was one of 9 children. But he was the smartest of the 9 children, and he became a professional. He became an accountant, and then. But he always read science on this, and so I absorbed some of that. I think I fulfilled his dream to be a doctor. That was part of it. But just biology came to me better than mathematics or chemistry. Biology was what interested me more. So although I wanted to be a doctor when I was very young, as I studied biology, I saw that was really where I had my interest. So it all worked out. And I've loved seeing patients because I'm really a clinician. But I love to see them even more in the context of a study. So NIH was the perfect place for me, because you could see patients, you could put data together, you could publish, you could follow your ideas. It was just, it wasn't the life I planned, but it was the perfect life for me. Yeah.
So if somebody asks from a young generation that in high school, why they need to be a doctor like you, what would be the advice?
No, you don't have to be a doctor. I think whatever field you go into, I think medicine is so intrinsically interesting. Mm-hmm. The issues are so the fundamentals of what goes on in the body that we now know so much better than we did. It's so intrinsically interesting that it's a satisfying field. Treating patients is satisfying, difficult but satisfying. So, but medicine, if your interests are engineering or law or whatever, just that you need to apply yourself to whatever you're doing. You need to work hard at it.
Perfect.
While still trying to balance your life.
Better balance.
Better balance.
Always your search of better balance.
Better balance. But I see business people, they're working all the time. They're rich, but they're working all the time, sure. And they have the same balance issues.
Yes, everybody has that.
Lawyers do.
That's a mystery.
It's the time. Time is my greatest enemy. I'm always running out of time. In fact, I have my epitaph.
Yeah.
My epitaph I've written already. On my gravestone will say, as in life, he ran out of time. Yeah. That'll be my epitaph.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, Professor Alter, it's a pleasure and honor again being with you. And we wish you a good trip around Crete and a pleasant return home. And we will be in touch soon for anything for the future about what is going on, and Singapore and others.
Oh, it's been my great pleasure
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Yeah.
Really, and thank you so much.
Thank you also. Thank you also. It's a pleasure for us.